And if you could start by giving us succinctly and articulately a speedy cut and dice of the current state of the global television market as it applies to British TV.
Okay, well, it's in, wherever you are in the world, it's a state of flux. I would argue, we'll probably discuss later, this is the way of things now. It's a permanent revolution in television. And it doesn't matter which country you're in, everyone's facing the same thing, which is traditional free-to-air television is under threat because of advertising revenue going like that. And in some countries, it's more marked than others. So if you go to somewhere like Brazil, it's the third biggest YouTube market in the world. It hasn't really got a history of free-to-air television as we know it. Globo perhaps a monopoly. But that's where the money's going. And you see the same in places like Mexico, etc. But the free-to-air broadcasters have been challenged for a long time, and they're still here. And that's the amazing thing. If you go to Australia, there's 4 or 5 commercial channels, free-to-air, which is kind of amazing in such a small country. And then you've got the streamers. The streamers are kind of, really, they're kind of maxed out in subscription levels. And in some countries, actually,
Are they all maxed out?
I think so, because they've been there long enough now, and we don't see those sudden growths anymore that you've got. So, and in some countries like Germany and the Nordics, they've kind of struggled relative to the UK. But they exist on a sort of thing, which is why, of course, now they're all having to think about different revenue models to illustrate they've got growth, which is why they've got advertising, why Netflix is thinking about doing off-air stuff and franchises and all that kind of extra value that comes off. So that's kind of, is that?
Yeah, that's good. So specifically, where do you feel the US is at then?
Yeah, well, the US, I mean, look, it's a cliche, the US sneezes and the rest of us get flu a few months later, and you definitely see that. So historically, I think you will probably know this, but for the sake of it, American TV has been a bit network television. That was the thing that existed from the 50s effectively onwards, and a whole production of dramas, etc., was around the circle of development seasons and then the seasons, and they made shows in huge volumes that distributors picked up, sold around the world, and everyone bought them. It was a brilliant market, and the whole of the US TV, whether it's the agents, the distribution, everything is based around that model. And what's happened is it's gone and it's not coming back. So the free-to-air networks now are largely sports networks. That's where they're putting their
reality?
money.
Do they do
live
shows?
Yeah, reality, because it's cheap. They do reality, but they're more and more trying to they're battling with each other for sports rights because it's live, and that's where you're going to put the ad money. You're going to put it around live programming.
But so Grey's Anatomy is still going, for example. So there are still some war horses in there.
There are, and what's interesting about something like that, they're still earning off the whole. It makes sense to carry on with that. But actually launching a new network show is quite difficult, because what they're also finding as distributors for American content is that actually the market doesn't want as much of that content as it did before. There's a contradiction in it, actually. They don't want as much, but they're missing it at the same time. So we're finding like European, France, Germany, and places like that could do with procedural dramas with well-known American faces on, and they don't mind it being English language because they'll dub it, which is probably an opportunity for producers here. Actually, I really do think that Europe, we should look more towards Europe than in America in some ways. Then you've got the cable business in America, which is really.
And did they start the cable businesses as a result of? So was FX started as a side shoot of Fox, for example?
Yes, some of them, and I mean, they all came out, like HBO was a sort of strange thing and everything, but really, I think when I'm thinking about cable, I'm thinking less about the drama. I hate to say this to you, but there are a load of channels that are based around non-scripted content. You probably didn't know this, whether it's Discovery or MTV or all that, and they've made acres of television, and lots of us Brits made for them, including, I believe, Ladies of London. Who was that made for? Bravo, there we go. And those channels are really, really being hit by the advertising squeeze, etc. And they're kind of pivoting to a new model, which is, you see that's what they're all trying to consolidate around. And then the streamers, of course, are the big thing in America. And then on top of that, you've got, which I should have mentioned in the overview, is the development of the creator economy, digital content, where all the ad money's going, which from my mind is where all the exciting things are happening.
So, what are you seeing then in the current state of the US market? So how are the cable channels doing? How are they, because the streamers kind of grew out of the success of the cable companies.
Absolutely.
Really,
If you think about it, Netflix ate HBO for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, the streamers now becoming much more mainstream in their choices. I suspect we're going to see lots of those cable, particularly non-scripted ones, disappear over the next couple of years, actually. I just don't see what the sustainable business model is anymore. Or they're evolving into a...
more digital.
Yeah, digital, fast channels and all that kind of stuff. I think what's interesting about America, and you can't get away from... I'm very... We've all grown up in a world in which American cultural hegemony, we've all lived under that. That is the way we've understood the world, and that's been what entertainment is. And lots of things we think about the world, lots of our values are imbued with that American freedom. And America's looked out to the world, it's exported. And now we clearly have an America that's looking inward, and that has an impact on the kind of programs it will choose, etc., I think. And again, I think that gives us all outside of the US an opportunity, but also to think about how the world might be changing and the way people are going to be looking towards American content. You know, if Trump is followed by 8 years of J.D. Vance, it's going to be a very different country, and it's not going to be the country we understood as America.
And it might not be the country where we are all eagerly lapping up all of the dramas that it's making.
Yes.
Or it might be, because as you say, we may have all caught the flu by then and actually think the dramas that J.D. Vance is kind of projecting in some way. Yeah, we might.
We might do. I mean, the other thing about America, of course, is cost of production is too high. I mean, they're struggling to make show. You think as a drama producer here in the UK, oh God, I really can't make a drama for 2 million. They can't make a scene for 2 million.
Yeah, that's right. And so, in terms of a few more specifics about what the rest of the world looks like outside of America.
Yep.
Europe, I get the feeling, is in quite a calm place at the moment, and certainly. I'm sorry, I'm going to just talk about drama and you can fill in for everything and make me look like an idiot, for which, thank you. But I got the impression that it is in quite a calm and relatively open door type space.
I think so. I mean, the problem that European producers have is that lots of the streamers don't trust them to make anything but local content. So, you know, they'll look to the Italians to do an Italian series, but they don't see them as people who can create, rightly or wrongly, premium content. So consequently, you get something like The Leopard, which was a Sky, actually it's slightly different because it wasn't actually a streamer, but I think it stands as a principle, which is you get a British writer, you have British directors, Son of the Century about Mussolini was the same thing, because actually there's a belief that somehow we haven't got, or these countries can't quite make drama to the standard that America and British can. And again, I see that, you and I have talked about this as an opportunity for British producers. Actually, we touched upon it today in the first session, I don't know if anyone was here, in which you know, we talked how the French now are prepared to do Marie Antoinette in English with an English writer. I mean, that's a country that really is very careful about its cultural imprint and its values.